Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I am SocioPsycho, and today is No Lag News Episode 6, where each week we convey to you the news that happened in gaming and otherwise that I feel that is important for you to know. We don't hold back and we tell it as it is. And first off, today, we have some interesting topics for sure we do. For your safety, we have a deadly Trojan going around, so be careful or at least be smart. Now, if you're not aware what a Trojan is, it's another version and type of a virus. A Twitch bot account bombards channels and invites viewers to participate in a weekly raffle for a chance to win things such as Counter-Strike Global Offensive items. Do not click on anything link related in such chats. You are not special, you have not been chosen, and you will not win anything. In fact, you will allow your information to be stolen. This also applies to people who use Steam. The attackers use Steam chat and forums to lure their victims by sending messages claiming that they want to trade various items. The image file attached to these messages, which show the items allegedly being traded, hide a piece of malware. The Twitch bot and the Steam Trojans are very similar in how they interact and steal important stuff from you in your Steam account. Now, the link provided by the Twitch bot leads to a Java program which asks for a participant's name, email address, and permission to publish winner's name. But in reality, it doesn't store those anywhere. Then it gives you a congratulations, you have joined this week's raffle. We will contact you by email if you win. After that message closes, or you open that file in Steam to see what the person wants to trade with you, a malware proceeds to drop a Windows binary file and executing it to perform these commands. Command 1, take screenshots. Command 2, add new friends to your Steam account. Command 3, accept pending friend requests in Steam. Command 4, initiate trade with new friends in Steam. Command 5, buy items if a user has money. So in Steam, you have the availability to put money in a Steam wallet. If you have any money in that, it will buy items and then trade the items. Command 6, it will send trade offers. Command 7, accept pending trade transactions. And Command 8, it will sell items with a discount in the market. Now, depending on which version of the Trojan you have, you're looking at an 18% discount mark price or a 35%. Depending on the version of the Trojan, depends on how fast you want to get rid of it. You will lose everything you have in your Steam wallet, your armory, and your inventory. It will all be cleaned out. All this is done from a victim's machine. Since Steam has security checks in place for logging in or trading from a new machine, if this happens, the only person you have to blame is yourself. So what can be done to prevent this? Should you think, well, maybe I'll trade with this person and it's okay, or oops, I clicked on that link. It happens, we understand. But what can you do to prevent something like this? Get antivirus protection. Not having any antivirus protection is basically saying, hey, I am open to attack. And so if you're looking for an antivirus protection, I recommend WebRoot. That's me. I don't like viruses, I don't like my machine running funky, I don't like my information being shipped off somewhere else, and I don't like the idea of someone being able to sneak from my computer. You do? Or you don't mind it? Well, you don't understand what you have at risk then. Which leads us to EA. Oh, EA. The love child of joy and happiness when it comes to gaming companies. So what have they done this time? Well, in 2013, their forums and an EA studio in Australia called Fire Monkeys was hacked. So what did EA do? Well, they suppressed this information for an entire year. So the company, Fire Monkeys of EA, had its forums taken down in September last year as a result of a hack which saw the information of over 40,000 members, including names and email addresses, downloaded and stolen. EA announced that the forum was being taken down for temporary maintenance. However, no mention was made of any of the data breach, or that personal information had potentially been compromised. EA would not even release what information of whose was taken or compromised. What a shock. A EA procedure you can trust. Again and again, EA throws those who put their trust in them under the bus. So just don't buy their games anymore. I don't. and I don't regret it one bit. It doesn't matter if they end up coming out with one game and I'm like, oh wow, that looks interesting, because I know what's at risk. And I know as soon as I get something and I have to fill out a form or I have to give information or register somewhere before I can even play, I'm not handing them my information and saying, okay EA, here's my information so I registered this game. I'm saying, hey internet, here's my information, because they're not going to take care of it. They are not going to suck up the responsibility to actually make sure that what you are entrusting to them is secure. Again and again, they have proven that they don't care about your personal security. They don't care about you in any regard. And I, for one, am not going to go and support a company such as that. You can do as you wish. But no, again, there are stakes. Now in other news, the old debate of, is video gaming a spectator sport, or even a sport for this matter? Well, the answer is yes. And are all sports not spectator sports? Yes, you have people who play them, but what does everybody else do? It's getting very annoying, this question, continuously popping up, as those who keep bringing it up think video games are a child's play toy. Yes, some games are for kids, some games are for adults, some games are taken seriously. Just as someone who enjoys football, or some such, whatever variational sport you want to subjugate into that matter or role, people cheer, people encourage the guy who is faster, who is stronger, and more skilled in his trade beating out the other person or team. It's no different here. People watch golf and swimming. People watch others dive into a pool from a high dive or walk on a balancing beam. So how is this any different than that? A competition where the most skilled players go against each other using all they know in order to take home the gold, so to speak. It's tiring when some old people just keep bashing anything new because it's different from what they know. Get over it. Just as in any other sport, they are all there to watch. And in this case, they're there to watch an esports face-off. Whether you grew up and played a sport in college, but you never made it pro, didn't even try, didn't even want to try, you still watch it maybe. Football, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, underwater basket weaving, I don't fucking know. People watch it because they have a inkling for the sport. They have an admiration, a joy. Esports, computer games, video games are no different. High-stake competitions where the prize money keeps getting larger and the stakes keep getting larger, where people have to train continuously. When somebody looks at esports and says, oh, that's just a video game, that doesn't mean anything, that's no different than saying, oh, look at those guys out on the basketball court. They're just passing the ball back and forth. I could do that. Okay, yeah, maybe I could, but that means I'd have to be running up and down that court for 40 minutes. That's a lot of stamina. I'd have to have the right shot, the right strength, the right athletic capability. Video gaming leads to esports, and it is a real sport, so get over it, old people of the world. Now, when we talk about people being stupid and not understanding things in life, we come to early access. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand that early access is an option for those who don't mind paying for an incomplete game. You are buying in on the game during beta and some even alpha stages. There is no guarantee that the game will even get completed. There is no guarantee that the sales from early access will allow the company to stay together. But let me break it down for you. You are not playing a released game, a finished product. The game you have chosen to spend your time and your money is not a finished product. So when DayZ producer responds to criticism about game's quality after seeing "Has anyone else lost faith in DayZ" post on the forums, which the producer Brian Hicks replies, DayZ is 11 months into its principal development on what should be a 3-year standard development cycle. I can't force you to be a fan of DayZ, but I can call this out. Defining or judging what DayZ is by a build so early in its development is much akin to judging a painting within the first few brush strokes. Then he goes on to say, take a break and come back in beta, or even the full release. The early access period of development will have many peaks and low valleys. So good games come out and get a boost by using early access, but that would be less than half of them. The majority of games that come out on early access either feel drawn out because they are not able to continue, but many of the games that come out on early access don't feel like they're really making that much progress. The game DayZ should be in development behind closed doors still. 11 months on a 3-year plan? Too soon. Way too soon. You are asking people to buy your game that won't be finished for another 2 years. What do you think will happen? You're inviting people for a price into a far from finished product. Games should not be allowed to be in early access unless they are over 60% done already, and go through some sort of Steam screening to make sure that's the case. And while that may be my personal opinion about how far a game should be along before it's allowed in early access, it would stop all this bullshit from early access conversations on both sides. Gamers will get a product, most likely depending on the size of the game, that would allow them not to burn out before it's finished, and they can still feel like they're making a difference in the development of the game. And developers can offer something strong and not be weighed down with so much basic issues that they can put more time into giving the fans what they want implemented into the game. So by going into early access so early in development, you're basically telling me as developers that you're incompetent to actually create a game that can succeed without being handheld by the community. Is community feedback important for a successful game? Yes. But when you allow your game to sit in early access for so long, people will burn out, people will leave, things will become outdated. And when your game finally does release, it is less likely to have the same effect or value, especially if you're a multiplayer game or a game that relies on community. So I don't feel sorry for those who buy early access games and end up hating it because you knew what you were getting into. You knew that you were buying an unfinished product. And I also don't feel sorry for any developer who has their game judged, because once you start asking people for money, they have the right to judge your game, especially when launching it so soon into development. You're only asking for trouble or annoyance from someone. Early access causes more issues than it helps, sadly. And if you don't offer a huge product with captivating gameplay that can last the time of your development in early access, this will happen. People are fickle, and as soon as they run out of enjoyment, whether it be a month or 2 months, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, you paid 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks on early access, but we're not finished yet. You can't be angry at us because we haven't gotten to the level of development that you wanted in the 2 months that you have been playing. And while I understand developments take time, by releasing your game so early, you're dooming yourself to a less than acceptable launch when the game is ready. Because people will be tired, people will play the game in an earlier stage, and they'll burn out on it, and they'll go play something else. They'll be like, wow, that sucked, and they'll go play something else. And then by the time your game comes back around, and it's like, hey, look, it's finished. Yeah, some of those people will come back and check it out. But others will be like, well, that's nice, but I'm busy playing something else. You had your chance. And the same thing goes into YouTube. YouTube is a huge market for advertising, pretty much, for games. You see a Let's Play, you see a review, and you're like, oh, wow, that game's pretty cool. And you pick it up. But then what happens when you release your game in early access, and you got all these gameplays flooding the market of your unfinished product? A product that you do not want to be presented as a finished product. But other people don't know that. Other people just watch a YouTuber they like or something, and they're like, that game looks cool. Or that game does not look cool. Even though your product is finished, they're not going to come near it. Not to mention a game reviewer, the larger reviewer, is less likely to actually cover your game if there's so much other content on it. If it's a big game and he knows he'll still get views on it, sure. But me, myself, as a reviewer, I'm less likely to cover a game that has been lost the hype or drive that it could have had when people first saw it. People first saw it in early access and were like, oh my god, best game ever, and run to it. and then they burn out before the game even gets into its release state. In the meantime, creating a bunch of videos. So now people know about this game. So now if I create a video on it, it's not going to get many views. But if I wait until it launches, I get 1/3 of that. Or maybe not even that much. And so the very people that say, we're going to represent your game to the world and other people can see your finished product, is now buried under the flood of all your early access videos clogging up YouTube. And when we talk about what makes a game good and how to develop a good game and what you really need to do, music. Music changes the way you experience video games. Music has a strange way of influencing our emotions, an element to a medium of emotion that many other forms of entertainment cannot even tap into. Music in games is important. That's why every time I do a review, I go over the music. I explain how well it is, I let people hear it from themselves. It's an important part of any game. It can affect your experiences as a player, from tension-filled anticipation of a haunting echoing or a quiet rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in Dead Space, to a widely recognizable yet simply theme of Super Mario Bros. Or Final Fantasy. Games have the advantage of being interactive, meaning that music and sound can provide additional context and information without any additional visual cues in a manner that cinematic scenes can't. Opening a field of possibilities, a well-done soundtrack can play a major role in how the players experience the game itself, or the right music at the right time during a stealth mission or a sudden change in tone while moving through a level, and you just know something bad or dangerous is going to happen. One of the most powerful soundtracks I have experienced was Baldur's Gate 2. This full orchestra soundtrack carried through a sense of adventure, mystery, and power that made the gameplay very satisfying. The music carried you up and prepped you for battle. The highs and lows allowed for such strong emotional connections with your characters. Across the many different elements within every video game, the soundtrack is often the most memorable, to a point where they have become classics themselves. What this game has is an excellent level of harmony between its parts. The music, the visuals, the gameplay, and the narration story. So these things are not that good by themselves perhaps, but combined, they fit perfectly. Music makes the game more addictive, and it makes these games stand out in the mind of a player, and some even till the day that player dies. They'll think back on their fondest memories and remember that time because of the help of the music, that game or that adventure was just truly epic. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time, for I have been SocioPsycho, and this has been No Lag News, and I'll see you next time.